Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as we celebrate the amazing and groundbreaking achievements of notable Black scientists who have left indelible marks on STEM fields. My name is Caitlin Zurcher, and I'm the Senior Manager of Marketing, Public Relations, and Social Media at Carnegie Science Center. Today, I'm very honored to introduce to you today's speaker, Afua Bruce. Afua is the Chief Program Officer at DataKind, a global nonprofit that harnesses the power of data science and AI in the service of humanity. Afua leads DataKind's product offerings, Center of Excellence, volunteer community, and chapter network to partner with social sector organizations. Previously, she spent several years leading science and technology strategy and program management in the federal government as the executive director of the White House's National Science and Technology Council and in a variety of positions at the FBI. Afua, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation tonight.
Oh, I'm excited too. So just to start off, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, I currently work at a nonprofit organization called DataKind. And I, at DataKind, have the opportunity to work with super talented people who really like data science and who really like to make a difference in the world. And the volunteers I get to work with are all over the world. We've got colleagues in London and in the US and in India and in Singapore and Australia and South Africa and Uganda. So really all over the world. And I just really appreciate that opportunity.
Great. Could you tell us how you got your start in your career? Why did you choose it? And were you motivated by anyone to go on that path?
Yeah, so I went to school, I went to college for computer engineering. And growing up, I always really liked playing with computers and playing games on computers, even just writing on the computer. I always really enjoyed that. So I loved just tinkering around with computers. And I was pretty sure that I wanted to do something with computers when I studied and when I went to school. At the same time, though, I had a lot of other interests growing up. My parents, who were from Ghana, really instilled a sense of community in me and the importance of looking out for your neighbors and really supporting your community. And so I grew up also volunteering a lot of different places. I went to college, started computer engineering with the urging of some teachers, some friends, and my parents. My dad was actually a chemical engineer by training. So I studied computer engineering, really enjoyed that, became a computer engineer after what felt like a lot of time in school and a lot of tests and a lot of exams and a lot of classes that sometimes made sense, sometimes didn't make sense, but I graduated anyway. So I did that. And then since graduating from Purdue University, which is where I studied computer engineering, I've had the privilege of going back to school at the University of Michigan to study some more, but working all over, working at big companies such as IBM, working in the government at the FBI and at the White House, and then working with nonprofit organizations all over the world. So it's been a combination of just figuring out what works for me and how I can use my skills, again, with liking the computers to make a difference in the ways that matter to me.
I love that. And I love how you mentioned, growing up, your parents instilling this sense of community and volunteering and how that's kind of, followed you through your career today. Um, are there any classes or opportunities that someone should look into taking if they're interested in starting a career like yours?
Absolutely. I think if you are interested in engineering, you should take all of the math and science classes you can. Now, after you get past the basic math and the basic science, I think one of the little known secrets, at least something I didn't fully understand when I was certainly in middle school, even in high school, is that to be an engineer, to be successful in engineering, you don't have to know every single type of math and you don't have to know every single type of science. You can gravitate towards the types of science and math that resonate most with you and that excite you the most, and maybe that you're the best at. So I know I personally, don't tell my dad again, who's a chemical engineer. I personally never really liked chemistry. I suffered through chemistry in both high school and in college. But then I didn't take any more chemistry after the introduction to chemistry because I liked more of computers. And so I focused on computer engineering. So it is important to study math and science, but figure out the types of math and science that you really like, dedicate yourself to those and work really hard at those.
Awesome. So in your current role at DataKind, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah. Well, right now, since we are all living through a pandemic, a typical day starts with me waking up, making some tea, and maybe staying in my pajama bottoms as I sit in front of my computer for the day. And then once I get started, it's a combination of checking in with my team. I have team members who live right now all over the United States, and so checking with the team to see how folks are doing, to see how folks are doing on different projects, just to see how folks are balancing life and what their work-life balance looks like. And then from there, it goes to actually diving into to many of the projects that we're working on. So one of the privileges I have as the chief program officer is I get to learn a little bit about a lot of different projects that we do. So some days my conversations are meeting with our project partners in Uganda or in South Africa to hear what's going on the ground and hear how some algorithms that we've developed are helping organizations deliver medicine more quickly or to train more nurses and to support organizations who are trying to make sure when people have babies, that the babies are healthy and that the moms are healthy, whether it's that or whether it's talking with some of our colleagues and our friends in the UK about how do we really think about supporting communities through the work that we're doing, and what does it really mean to use technology to support communities? What does that look like? And then sometimes it's checking in with just other people who are really excited about wanting to use technology and data to make a difference in the world, and talking to people about, well, how do I get into this and what does that look like and how do I do that well and in ways that are going to really help change someone's life and really help people get better access to food and get better access to housing, and just have a better quality life.
Great. I'm curious if there are any recent projects or initiatives that you've worked on that that you could explain to us. Just one that really stands out to you.
Yeah. Oh man. Let me pick which one really stands out to me. I think one of the projects that we did that was really fun is we got to work with a particular college in the United States who wanted to take a look at people who got almost to graduating and then didn't graduate for whatever reason. So they'd finished the majority of their college courses, but maybe for whatever reason, maybe it's the last few courses were tough to schedule. Maybe it was they had difficulty finding the financing for the last few courses. But for whatever reason, people were getting really close to graduating and not actually graduating. And so we were able to partner with this college, John Jay College, out of New York City, and we were able to partner with them and take a look at the data that they've been collecting and do some data analysis to say, what's going on here? What are some of the characteristics of people who get really close to graduating and then don't graduate? And then after we were able to find some of those insights, we were then able to go go to the college office that we'd partner with, the office that reached out to us and said, here are our findings. Here are some of the triggers and profiles of what people who get really close to graduating but don't graduate look like. And then with that, the college was able to take that information and then reach out to people on a more targeted way and provide the support that they needed. And they were able, after running our algorithm for a while, we're actually able to help more than 600 additional people graduate. And so that was really exciting to me to say, we can partner with an organization who's already doing great work, right? Colleges giving people degrees to help them go find jobs in areas that they want. We can partner with them to help them diagnose a specific problem. In this case, people getting so close to graduating, but not actually graduating. And then we can provide information. We can provide that data so that the people running those challenges, those problems, those organizations can then do something about it and have better outcomes for everyone. So that to me is a recent project that we did that I just really enjoyed.
That's amazing. And I think a great example of the type of work that you do. Um, So in your current role, and then also just pulling from your experience, what would you say that inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, how is that important to STEM?
Yeah, this is a great question, and one I think is important for us to ask ourselves all year round. I think if you think about how you like to be treated and how you like to work, you probably don't like to feel that you're on the outside or that someone doesn't want to make space for you, or someone doesn't want to include you, right? You never want to be the last person chosen for a team or the last person invited to go to an event or something like that. And so that's exactly how it is when we talk about science, technology, and engineering and math. Is we want to make sure that we have a place for everyone. We want to look around and see who can we involve in this work. And why that's really exciting to me, it's because when we involve a lot of different people, we get really cool things, right? That's how we then think of things like, what if we could make robots dance? Or what if we could use technology and algorithms to identify what animals might become endangered species? What if we could figure that out early so they don't even become endangered species? Or what if we could then use different perspectives and figure out how do we maybe develop some new type of clothing that will flow on our bodies and look, that'll feel a little bit smoother or feel differently and look differently and get us all really excited. And so that to me is why, thinking about diversity and inclusion matters, is because that's how you get the fun stuff when you've got people coming at it from different angles and different walks of life. That's where you can really invent the coolest technologies.
Awesome. I love that answer. Um, if someone were interested in your type of career, do you have any advice that you would give to them? Yeah, let's start with the advice that you would give to that individual who is interested in your career.
Absolutely. So if people are interested in using data to help communities and to strengthen communities and to really make a difference, I would say a couple of things. First, do a lot of listening. Listen to what people actually need, not what you think they need, not what, a friend or even a teacher told you someone needs. But before you go developing something, talk to people who are going to use it, see what they actually need. So that's the first thing. The second is figure out where your strengths are. If your strength is in coding, work really hard at being a good coder and then be able to do that well. And then third, don't give up. I think a lot of times people, even myself sometimes, we don't get it right on the first try, or something is really difficult, or we encounter people telling us, no, you can't talk here. No, this new idea that you have just doesn't make sense right now, or no, in some reason. And that can be discouraging. I think even back to some of the classes I took in college, and it felt like teachers were telling me no when I saw the grades on some of those exams. So I would tell people also, though, don't give up. Just work really hard, figure out a way around the problem, trust your gut, trust your instincts, and you can really work to make a difference.
Great. And then I know we might have some parents watching who might be raising children who are, budding scientists. Do you have any advice for how those parents can support and motivate their kids?
Sure. I definitely have advice for supporting. Whether or not it was motivating, I'm not sure. I will tell you what some of the things my parents did that I think really made a difference to me and made sure that I knew that science and engineering were career pathways for me. And the first is just exposing me to STEM, right? This meant, taking me to museums when possible, to science centers. There are lots of pictures of me growing up, touching different exhibits in museums and in libraries, honestly. So that's really important. My parents also always most years forced me, other years encouraged me to participate in science fairs. And the process of me identifying my own project and then doing my own research and presenting on it through the science fair process was really useful. And then something else that I'm really passionate about is just reading and watching stories about people doing STEM. Sometimes not even famous people doing STEM, just really what that looks like. So my parents always looked to expose me to books, especially about African Americans, Africans, and women in STEM, and the roles that people had, the jobs that people did, and the contributions that people made. And that to me, being a Black woman, a Black girl growing up, I always then got to see myself in books or in a movie, and got to see examples of people who look like me doing science and engineering. And I think that made one of the biggest differences.
Awesome. I especially love that you mentioned science fairs, because at the Science Center, we're hosting one. We're about 1 month out from our own science fair. So that's always something to see, a lot of different kids getting really excited about science.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great advice. So that is all the questions that we have prepared, but I'm looking now to see if we had any questions from viewers who are watching on Facebook right now. And the one question, somebody is curious about how you started to work for the FBI.
Yeah, great question. I will confess that growing up, I never thought I would work for the FBI. I actually never thought that I would work for the government at all. And then I went on to work at the FBI and the White House, two very big government organizations. And so as I mentioned, I went to the University of Michigan for my graduate education. So after doing undergraduate education, I worked as a software engineer for a few years, and then decided I hadn't had enough school, and so I needed to go back. And it was while I was in school, that second time while I was getting my graduate degree, that the FBI actually reached out to me and said, we have a need for people who understand business and who understand how to organize people and who understand how to motivate people and who also understand technology. We have a need for those things to go together so that as we develop technology, as we develop those fun spy toys that are maybe just like in the movies, maybe a little bit different than in the movies and the television shows that you've seen. So as we develop those, we can do those in ways that make sense. We can do them in ways where we can develop these fun spy toys on time in ways that will actually help agents run cases and hopefully keep more people safe by using technology rather than people in the middle of situations. And that sounded really exciting to me. It was something I hadn't considered before. It's one of those career opportunities that for me, I didn't even really know existed, a chance to use those technical skills I had, those sort of organization skills and motivation skills I had. And then, affecting society by really supporting FBI agents on the wide variety of cases that the FBI works.
I'm curious how you, kind of made that connection from when you were in school. Like, was it, recruitment efforts through your university, or, just looking around to see what types of job opportunities were out there?
Yeah, in my case, it was recruitment efforts at my university. The FBI and a number of government agencies actually do recruit on college campuses. They also go to large career fairs that different professional organizations have, and people from many different universities and out working in the world attend these large career fairs. And so the FBI and other government organizations do show up at these things, and it can be a bit intimidating to walk up to that table. I know it was for me to the first time I got an email that said the FBI wants to talk to you, and then I walked up to the table. It's a little bit intimidating, I'll confess, but I'm so glad I did. And so I'd encourage people who find that at all interesting, whether you just want to learn more about what that is, or if you know that that's a career path that you want, for when you see the FBI or other government agencies at your schools, or you hear people talking about the jobs they have, just to ask the question, to approach them and see what more you can learn.
Great. We have another question from the audience. How have your capabilities in both technology and business complemented each other throughout your career?
Great question. So one of the things that I noticed, I think immediately when I started working in high school, in college, actually, in engineering, is that it's really important to know how to write code. And it's really important to know how to structure code. It is also really important to know how to get feedback from people who are actually going to buy the things that you write, or actually going to use the things that you write, you create. And so that means you need to figure out who those people are, and then figure out how you tell people about this idea that you have, or about this new program that you've created. And then how do you organize a team of people, because no one writes an entire program by themselves anymore. It's a large team of people. And so that process of being able to organize a team of coders to write something, so that all of the pieces come together, and that you can actually then share it with the world to let people know that it exists, marketing, and you can actually build something that people want by listening to requirements, is the technical term, requirements that people have, and the needs that people have. And then you can adjust your program based on additional feedback after you release that first product into the world. That whole process can really be complemented by or driven by people who have good business skills. And so for me, understanding both the technical side, and that more technical coding side, as well as the business processes, helped me to really be at the center and be able to go back and forth between different worlds, and help people who may only understand the business understand some of the nuances, or the trade-offs, and just the details of, like, here's why we had to do something from the coding side, or here's why it's going to take longer than you may want, and vice versa. Here's why we need to package some code a particular way, because this is what some of the users want. This is what we're going to need to get back to people. So being able to understand, for me, both business and technology helps me just operate in a sweet spot for me of being in that in between, and really communicating back and forth from, again, people with different perspectives.
Great insight. Thanks for sharing. That does look like we have that's all the questions from Facebook. Before we close off, did you have anything else you might want to share with the people watching today?
I would just encourage people to figure out what matters for you in this moment. I think sometimes some advice is given of, like, find your passion, and I think that's really important. Your passion really will make the difference in your success story. But it's also important to remember that your passion can change from time to time, or you can have multiple passions, and that's okay too. And so when we talk about finding something that's really going to fuel you, focus on what's really fueling you in this moment, and what you can do today to make a difference. Don't necessarily try and think about what you have to do in the future, or what people are expecting of you, or what the perfect plan is for your life, but really focus on, what difference can I make today? What is really driving me today? And if you follow that, and you really connect with what matters to you and what you're passionate about today in this moment, combined with the skills that you're developing. Again, I like engineering, so maybe those are math and science skills. But combined with those, you will be able to make that difference. You will be able to be successful, and you will be able to just really have an impact in the world that will, at the end of the day, hopefully help you to sit down and smile.
That is awesome, awesome advice. Very inspiring. Afua, Bruce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your experience and all your advice. I think it was an amazing conversation.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And to those of you watching, as we continue our Black History Month celebration, please check out our website at carnegiesciencecenter.org to learn more about our on-site and virtual events. We'll be posting more information in the comments. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great night.